What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Game reviews are incredibly important to the industry. It's essentially how we, the people, choose our champions in video games. I don't want to sound like a hipster when I say this, but nowadays I don't find great game reviews from big gaming media companies all that interesting anymore. It has nothing to do with being salty about my favorite game getting a bad score, but more about how they approach the review. A lot of the time, it feels like lip service to appeal to an already overwhelming hype train / rabbit fanbase, or just very weak first impressions from people who had less than 3 hours to play the game, review it and put it online. In the last 3 to 4 years, a lot of my favourite reviews / reviewers, regardless of what medium it comes from, are YouTubers that aren't attached to any corporate entity. How their opinions are truly displayed feel like they took some time out to properly analyse what they watched, listened to or played to really frame and capture their honest feelings about whatever it is. Of course, all opinions are subjective and far from gospel, but it's really what a game review should be going for. Don't get me wrong though, opinions can change, mistakes can be made, and sometimes our own tastes can limit what we are reviewing. I do this all the time when I discuss video games, whether it's online or offline, and I can give you examples of it in my videos. Exhibit A. An example of me changing my opinion would be my Spyro review. I gave that game a mid 7 out of 10 when really and truly I think it's a low 6 out of 10. I criticised the gameplay for having less than quality controls and certain levels and missions not aging well for a modern audience, which should strike a lot of marks off considering it's a platformer where controls are everything. But my nostalgia for the series slightly skewed the score, which does not aid in my credibility as a reviewer, which I will be keeping in check going forward. Exhibit B. An example of me making a mistake within a review would be my Jet Set Radio series versus horror video. A big mistake I hate to admit is that I didn't play horror for a long time before making my video. I got maybe 4 hours in, maybe 5 if I'm pushing it, and I just couldn't play anymore because I just really wasn't enjoying it. Why I considered this a mistake is because I should have just toughed it out and at least experienced everything that the game had to offer, even if it wasn't good to me. It's like if I reviewed a 15-track album and got to track 5 and said, yeah, that's all I need. Reading back on some of the comments on the video made me realize that the game might have met my expectations if I continued playing it, but I don't plan on changing my video. Like, my overall feelings about the game haven't changed much. I said what I felt at the time and I'm sticking with it, but in the future, I'll consider to be more diligent in how I review these games and how I play them, no matter if they're bad or if they're good. And Exhibit C, acknowledging my limits. Due to my likes and dislikes, there are certain games that I won't review because I know I won't give a fair review based on what appeals to me and what I enjoy playing. For starters, I wouldn't review FIFA or Forza because I suck balls at sports games and racing games. Like, you can choose any sports or racing game, FIFA, Madden, NBA, Forza, Gran Turismo, you name it, I'm taking L's. But give me a sports game or a racing game that's less serious in nature, like a Crash Team Racing, Mario Strikers Football, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Wipeout, Mario Kart, then I'm a happy man. Point being, if I know that I have a preconceived bias towards a certain style of game, then I either make sure that I become aware of that while I play the game I'm reviewing, or avoid it altogether. Much like what I mentioned about my Spyro review, I understand that my nostalgia slightly inflated the score. All that being said, I would like to say that there are 3 fundamentals in game reviews that everyone, including myself, should follow. This fundamental seems like an obvious thing to include, but unfortunately nowadays it is not. Currently right now there is a bit of a debate whether reviewers need to complete a game before they can write a review on it. Personally, you just need to finish the game, like before you speak on it, the bottom line, point blank period. But if I was to play devil's advocate, being a paid reviewer for any media publication, whether you're reviewing games or music or whatever, would involve playing a lot of games or listening to a lot of music in a short space of time and have reviews for all of them before they're released, since the consumer wants that instant gratification of knowing whether a game should be purchased. some review copies get sent out a day before the game's release date, which literally gives them under 24 hours to play it and review it. They treat it like some damn speedrun challenge. Also, there is different types of games that can hinder how long it takes to play it to completion. You have collections with multiple games, you have story-driven games with branching story paths to choose from, open world games with 100+ hour content with day one DLC, even multiplayer only games such as Black Ops 4 that I've been playing a lot recently can be very tricky to review since there's not a gold standard for how long you're meant to play multiplayer for to gather enough experience to give an overall review on the game. Like, what counts for playing the multiplayer enough to even make a credible opinion on it? Do you get to max level? Do you play certain numbers of matches? Do you clock in a certain number of hours played? There's so many variables that can add and subtract the credibility from a review. However, aside from all of that, you still need to finish the game. I think the issue has to do with the high demand from the consumer to have these reviews ready, and some of it being the reviewer wanting to drive more traffic to their website. Personally, I am not fussed if a review for a game I want to play doesn't come out on the day of release, as I can keep myself busy until then. I got 800 episodes of One Piece to watch, and tons of games in my Steam library that I've purchased and never even played. I am not bereft of activities. Plus, Twitch supplies dozens of people who stream new games, which gives the ability for anyone like myself to see the game firsthand. So really, there's no excuse. Play the game or don't talk about it at all. Communication is key, as the saying goes. What you say and how you say it means everything in a review. That sounds pretty obvious, right? Well, not always. When Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, I saw a lot of reviews praising the hell out of it, which in itself isn't a bad thing. If a game was amazing to you, then by all means speak highly about it. But what rubbed me the wrong way was the constant use of loaded language to kind of guilt trip gamers into drinking the Red Dead Redemption 2 Kool-Aid and discrediting anyone that hasn't really played it. Now, I don't want to give the vibe that I don't like Red Dead Redemption 2. I haven't played it myself. I've looked at some gameplay. It looks really good. I'll probably get around to playing it sometime this year. But when you put out a review that states, if you voluntarily miss out on it, you're either not a gamer or in a coma, then it moves away from a review that starts sounding like opinions posing as facts. Now, I'm sure that the person writing the review means well. They don't mean to come across as an elitist, and they're probably just very impressed with Red Dead Redemption 2. But you must be careful and selective with the words that you use. Whether you're writing a review, tweeting out something, or speaking to another person, an important thing about communication is that you need to be very cognizant about the effects and responses that will come with whatever you say. This means taking time to script your thoughts and opinions accordingly so that it is difficult to misinterpret something or take something out of context. For example, in recent videos, I try my best to refrain from describing something as fun. Fun is a very subjective word that has several different connotations to many different people. My idea of fun is weightlifting and shopping for new PC parts, whereas your idea might be completely different to mine. Now, within the context of video games, person A might find killing a raid boss repeatedly for a chance of obtaining a legendary item, which has a very small percent of dropping, to be very fun. But person B might think it's repetitive, boring, and annoying. Sure, not everyone is going to agree with what you say about a game. Personally, I love that aspect of reviews because I get to learn another person's perspective, which could benefit how I look at games. But what's important is that what you say reflects on the final verdict and the score of the game that you review. This final fundamental is probably the most underrated one because a lot of the time I don't often see people use it. In many game reviews, I often see people lose focus on what they're reviewing. Some people gloss over important features in the game or spend too long on unimportant ones. How I try to avoid this is simply identifying what the game is trying to achieve and deciding how well it has achieved it. From there, it is easy to list positives and negatives to illustrate your point and link together your personal experiences to build your review. For example, my Spyro review. And one of the points I made towards the end of the review was considering whether the game had achieved its goal of being a definitive remake of the Spyro trilogy, and for the most part it does, but it also lacked in some important aspects too. 1. You should always improve on what didn't work. 2. If something worked, then just give it a polish. And 3. Do what you couldn't do before that you wanted to do before. With Spyro, it does all of those things, but just not the 100% efficiency. It's sort of like a 60-40 split on all three. From there, I was able to point out that the controls on the gliding and jumping were lacking, which resulted in unfair deaths from falling, and some missions did not play well because of that. In doing this, it helps you build the review steadily piece by piece, with a list of positive and negatives to help you reach your conclusion for the verdict. How you decide to structure your review throughout should be entirely up to you and what you feel comfortable with. Typically, I like to try and structure mine as a essay with intro, middle and end, but you might have a more unique style to how you deliver reviews. It's important to stand out with your reviews and tailor it to be personal to your experience. Ultimately, game reviews come in all shapes and sizes. There is never one solid way in doing one, but all reviews should follow some guidelines to tick certain boxes. My way might not be the be-all end-all to how to review a game, but I truly feel that these few fundamentals should be in all game reviews. If you guys disagree with me, or you guys have some sort of opinion about this that you feel could probably be interesting to discuss, throw it in the comment section. I'm willing to hear all your opinions about this, and help me understand as well, because I haven't been reviewing games for a very long time, but I have been playing games for a long time and also have a lot of opinions about them too. So if you do want to discuss this deeper, head into the comment section, share this video around if you want to get some discussion going, and yeah, that's me, Astral Black, out, peace.